Welcome to Pages to Dialogues, your premier destination for insightful discussions on Christian books. Join me as we delve into the pages of thought-provoking Christian literature and explore the timeless truths and principles that can transform our lives. From classic devotionals to contemporary bestsellers, we'll engage in meaningful dialogues that will inspire, encourage, and challenge you to grow deeper in your faith. So, subscribe to Pages to Dialogues now and join the conversation. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can stay updated on new episodes and exclusive content. Let's turn pages into conversations that matter.
Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about the work of Mark Vincent.
Oh, yeah.
Who's really become known for his writing on Christian stewardship and specifically how we handle money.
He's written a lot on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
a popular topic for sure.
Yeah, definitely a lot of interest in it. And I think one of the books that really stood out to me was Teaching a Christian View of Money, Celebrating God's Generosity.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
And
really practical.
Yeah, it lays out a really practical framework for how Christians can approach their finances.
A lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he has another one, too, just called A Christian View of Money.
Right.
That's a little bit older. But in both of those, he kind of drops this bombshell idea that money has a godlike power, which is kind of like, whoa.
It's pretty intense when you think about it.
It is. And it's not like in a literal sense of like bowing down to dollar bills or anything.
Right.
It's more about how insidiously money kind of shapes our whole world and our priorities.
For sure. And if we're really honest with ourselves, how we earn money and how we spend money really reveals what we value.
Totally. And he has these vivid examples in the books to drive the point home.
Oh, yeah. I love those.
Yeah, they're really good.
He's a good storyteller.
He is.
Yeah.
Like the story of Jose Martinez.
Oh, yeah.
This guy who owns a successful business, but then his biggest customer wants him to cut corners to boost profits.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah. And it's like a real ethical dilemma.
It is.
Because on the one hand,
you got to keep the lights on.
You got to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, it's like,
but you don't want to compromise your values.
You don't want to compromise who you are as a person, your integrity.
Yeah.
And so it's just such I think a lot of people can relate to that in different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then he has another one, Benny Smith.
Oh, yeah, Benny.
This guy who spends a lot of money on lottery tickets.
Which, some people might say that's not very responsible.
Right.
But
then he gives away half of any winnings to the homeless shelter.
Yeah, he does. He's an interesting guy.
So it's like even his spending, however weird it may seem on the surface, is still somehow tied to his values.
Yeah. You can see the connection there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And Vincent doesn't just give these examples and leave us hanging,
Right.
He goes deeper. He asks, how our Christian worldview should be shaping how we handle money.
Yeah.
That's where it gets really interesting.
It does. And to do that, he takes us back to the Bible.
Right, back to the source.
Like all the way back to the Garden of Eden, which I never really thought of as like a financial stewardship example.
Yeah, it's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But it makes sense when you think about it.
It does. When you think about the abundance that was there and just the fact that like God intended for us to live in harmony with creation.
Right. To enjoy it.
To enjoy what he's given us.
To be responsible for it.
But to also be responsible for it. And it's so different from that scarcity mindset that I think drives a lot of our financial anxiety today.
Oh, for sure. We're always worried about not having enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have Israel's covenant with God.
Right.
Which is almost like a prototype for the prosperity gospel, but it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah, it's not just about getting rich. It's about blessings being tied to faithfulness.
Right. Doing what's right by God.
Yeah.
And it suggests that our money choices aren't just personal.
Yeah.
They have a spiritual dimension. They're about aligning with God's will.
It's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then you have Isaiah,
right,
who has this vision of the future. And it's not just fluffy clouds and harps.
Yeah.
It's a society where justice and dignity and peace are the norm.
Yeah, he had a very specific vision.
It's almost like a financial utopia.
And it's all driven by God's presence.
All right.
So even back then, they were connecting money choices to this grand vision of how the world should be.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
And then it kind of culminates in the New Jerusalem.
Right.
This ultimate restored city where God dwells with us.
Yeah, where everything's made right.
So, okay, we've got this grand vision,
Uh-huh.
but what does it actually mean for us?
Right.
Like on a Monday morning when we're trying to figure out our budget.
Yeah. What are the takeaways here?
What are the practical takeaways?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
For sure.
What do you think?
Well, I think it forces us to ask some tough questions. Like,
Yeah.
are we using our resources to actually build God's kingdom?
Yeah.
Or are we just hoarding for ourselves?
It's easy to fall into that trap.
It is,
Yeah.
especially in our culture,
Yeah.
you know? But Vincent reminds us that we're not alone in this. That's where the church community comes in.
Okay. We're going to have to dive into that more.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
But I think that's a great place to kind of pause for
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
And we'll pick up with that
sounds good.
next time.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
See ya.
Okay, so we've been talking about how money can be like this sneaky force shaping our lives,
It
and
really is.
yeah,
Sneaky little thing.
and how the Bible actually has a lot to say
Yeah.
about using our resources.
So than we think.
Yeah, in a way that honors God. And that leads us to one of Vincent's most, I think, thought-provoking ideas.
Yeah.
This idea of first fruits living.
Ah, yes. First fruits living.
I gotta admit, when I first heard that term, I was like,
I thought it was just about tithing.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like, just give more to the church.
Yeah, give 10% and you're good.
Yeah, but it's so much deeper than that.
It is much deeper.
So what does first fruits living actually look like?
Well, I think it starts with a mental shift.
Okay.
Like a fundamental change in how we view everything we have.
Right.
Instead of seeing it as mine, mine, mine,
Right.
it's about understanding that it's all a gift from God. It's entrusted to us for a purpose.
So it's not just about how MUCH we give,
Right.
but like the attitude behind
The
it.
heart behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about that joyful generosity
Okay.
that comes from recognizing God's ownership. And then that generosity plays out in two ways. One, giving back to God first and foremost.
Okay.
And then two, managing the rest in a way that honors him and serves others.
So it's like a holistic approach.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not just about money going to the church.
Right.
It's about our whole lives.
Yeah. And Vincent is adamant that this giving shouldn't feel like a rule
Oh, no.
or a burden.
Not at all.
It's not about hitting a percentage target.
No. It should flow naturally from a heart that's overflowing with gratitude for God's love and grace.
I like that.
Yeah, think about it. Like,
If you receive a gift
Yeah.
that you absolutely love,
okay.
don't you want to show your appreciation somehow?
Yeah.
It's that same feeling.
Yeah.
Giving back the first and best becomes an act of worship, of saying thank you.
Yeah. And you know, that makes me think about times I've given something sacrificially, not because I had to,
Right?
but because I really wanted to.
Yeah.
There's a different kind of joy in that.
There is. There's a deeper joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing. First fruits isn't just about money.
Oh, okay.
Vincent talks about dedicating our time, even our energy in that same way.
Oh, so it's like a broader principle.
Much broader.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, if you're a musician,
Yeah.
maybe your first composition goes to a church project before you try to sell it.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, it's about offering the best of ourselves to God's service, no matter what we do.
So he's really challenging us to rethink our whole approach to stewardship.
He is
Yeah.
taking it to a deeper level. And what I appreciate is he doesn't just leave us with these like lofty ideals.
No, he's very practical.
Yeah, he gives real world examples.
Lots of them.
Yeah, like Liz Stone,
Oh, yes, Liz.
this woman living below the poverty line.
And still finding ways to give back.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's incredible.
It shows that first fruits living isn't about how much you have.
Right.
It's about the posture of your heart.
That's good.
Yeah. And he shares tons of stories like that of families making it work,
hmm
even when it's tight.
Yeah, it makes it feel possible.
It does.
Even for those of us who aren't exactly rolling in dough.
Right. We can all do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's encouraging to see how that principle plays out in different ways.
Because honestly, sometimes it feels like the world is just shouting at us.
Oh, yeah.
Get more, spend more.
It's the constant message.
It is.
Yeah.
But first fruits living is about aligning our actions with what we truly believe.
It is. It's about finding purpose in using what we have to advance God's kingdom, not just build our own little empires.
Yeah, it's shifting the focus from accumulating stuff
Right.
to making an impact that matters.
Exactly. It's about remembering that we're managing God's blessings and we're called to be wise and generous with them. You know, as we're talking, I'm realizing how much we need the church community in this journey.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we can't do this alone.
Yeah, it's easy to get off track
It is.
when you're surrounded by messages that contradict what you believe.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need other believers to keep us grounded, to remind us of God's values, especially when it comes to money.
Yeah. Imagine if every church had this built-in support system.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Where people could openly discuss their finances,
Yeah.
share their struggles, and learn from each other.
It's about building that culture of generosity where giving is the norm.
Not the exception.
Not the exception, yeah.
Yeah, and it's about our church leaders stepping up,
Yeah.
teaching us what the Bible says about money and how to apply it to our lives.
Like remember how Paul told the Corinthians to support the suffering church in Jerusalem?
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful example.
Yeah, it's a reminder that our choices have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for others.
Right.
And then you have Timothy guiding his people to discern the Holy Spirit's leading
In everything.
in everything, including their finances.
Yeah, seeking God's wisdom.
It shows that our money decisions aren't just personal.
Right.
They impact the whole community.
They do. It's like we're all connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like weaving a tapestry together.
I like that.
Yeah, supporting each other and ultimately building God's kingdom.
That's a good image.
Yeah, Vincent really paints a picture of what a thriving church community can look like. One where financial decisions are made with wisdom and generosity.
Yeah.
Where everyone feels cared for and the needs of the community are met. It's a beautiful vision.
It is. It makes me think, what would happen if more churches truly embraced this kind of radical generosity?
That's a great question. It could change everything.
It could. It really could.
Yeah.
As we continue to unpack Vincent's work, we'll explore how churches can actually put these principles into action
Okay.
and create that culture of generosity.
We've been diving deep into Mark Vincent's ideas about money and generosity.
It's been a lot to take in.
It has been a lot, eye-opening to say the least.
For sure.
But now I'm curious, how do we actually take this from theory to reality?
Yeah. That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
How do we actually apply this stuff?
Yeah, especially within our churches.
Right, because that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah. What does this look like in a practical sense?
Well, the good news is Vincent doesn't just leave us with a head full of ideas.
Okay, good.
He actually outlines 7 very practical initiatives that churches can use.
7?
Yeah, 7.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, to build a culture of giving that's both sustainable and honestly contagious.
Okay, so give me the rundown. What are some of these initiatives? Well, first off, it's about moving past those guilt trip sermons about tithing.
Yeah, I think we've all heard those.
Yeah, we've all been there. He talks about equipping pastors to teach about stewardship in a way that connects with people's hearts,
Okay.
not just their wallets.
So less about rules
Less about rules.
and more about inspiring people to give freely.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that intrinsic motivation.
I like that.
Yeah. And he's also big on creating meaningful connections between the people giving and where the money goes.
Oh, that's huge.
It is. It's not just dropping a check in a bucket.
Right.
It's seeing the impact, hearing the stories of how those resources are making a difference.
That makes so much sense because, like, if you know your donation is helping build a well in a village,
Right.
that desperately needs clean water.
Exactly.
You're going to be way more excited to give than if it just goes into some general fund.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about making that connection.
Yeah.
One of the initiatives he talks about is actually dedicating offerings as a central part of worship.
Oh, wow.
Imagine, instead of just passing the plate,
Yeah.
we have powerful prayers. People sharing testimonies about how God has provided for them. Maybe even showing photos or videos of the projects the church is supporting.
That would change the whole atmosphere.
Wouldn't it? It becomes less about duty and more about celebrating what God is doing through our generosity.
I like that.
Another idea that struck me was strengthening a ministry of mercy within the church.
Okay. What does that look like?
Well, it's not just about handouts. It's about truly embodying compassion and care, walking alongside people through difficult times.
So, like, if someone loses their job or has a medical emergency,
Exactly.
the church becomes a safety net.
A safety net, a place where they know they'll be supported.
I love that.
Yeah, Vincent suggests appointing people specifically to identify needs within the congregation and the community, connecting people with resources, mobilizing volunteers to help out.
So it's like a system.
It creates a system of support that's both practical and deeply personal.
It's about showing people they're not alone,
Exactly.
that they're part of a family that cares.
Yes. And this all ties back to something we talked about earlier, the importance of relationships.
Right.
Vincent seems really passionate about developing those connections between givers and receivers.
Yes.
He believes that when we see firsthand how our generosity is impacting others, it fuels even greater giving.
Okay.
He talks about inviting missionaries to share their experiences, partnering with local organizations to meet tangible needs, even organizing trips so people can see the impact of their giving with their own eyes.
Wow, so it's about moving beyond these abstract ideas of like helping people to encountering real stories.
Real people, real lives.
Real lives that have been touched by the generosity of the church.
That's powerful stuff.
That is powerful.
And it's not just about money.
Right.
Remember, Vincent's whole first fruits living concept applies here too. He encourages churches to create opportunities for people to prayerfully consider what their first and best offering might be, whether it's financial time, talents, or all of the above.
It's about taking that leap of faith.
It is.
Trusting God to provide.
Even as we give generously.
Yeah, and when all these initiatives come together, it's like creating this beautiful tapestry.
It is, of generosity.
That transforms not just individuals, but the whole church community.
Stewardship becomes more than a program. It's woven into the fabric of who they are.
It's like that quote from Vincent that we keep coming back to.
Yeah.
Christians are extensions of God's personality.
To a broken world.
To a broken world. When a church truly embraces that, their generosity becomes a tangible expression of God's love and care.
Absolutely. It's about being a beacon of hope.
Yeah.
A source of blessing to those around us. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left feeling incredibly hopeful. Vincent's work is a powerful reminder that we have the potential to make a real difference in the world, starting right where we are.
And I hope you, our listener, are feeling inspired as well.
Yeah.
Take some time to think about those 7 initiatives Vincent outlined and prayerfully consider how you can be a part of building a culture of generosity within your own church and community.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not about the amount we give, but the heart behind it. When we give joyfully, sacrificially, out of a genuine desire to reflect God's love, it creates a ripple effect that can change the world.
It really can.
And that's a legacy worth leaving.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Pages to Dialogues. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and found valuable insights to apply to your life. If you did, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Pages to Dialogues, for more thought-provoking dialogues on Christian books. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on this episode. Please leave a comment below and let's continue the conversation. If you know someone who would benefit from our discussions, please share this episode with them. Your support means the world to us. Finally, if you appreciated this episode, please give us a thumbs up and a like. It helps us reach more people and continue creating content that inspires and uplifts. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to engaging with you on our next episode of Pages to Dialogues.